This is World Comics Review, and this is Archie. Well, actually, it's Betty and Veronica's double digest, but yeah, it's all from Archie Comics. So the best way to describe Archie Comics is very American. So obviously the American heroes like Superman and Batman, Spider-Man, and that they can kind of travel. They're like about the hero's journey, modern mythology. Stuff like that. It really appeals to everybody, but yeah, Archie is just extremely American, and I've heard this is the only comic that is still sold in places like 7-Eleven in the USA. All the superhero ones are now only in the direct market, and are probably not even there anymore in the future. So yeah, this not an actual Archie comic, this is a double digest, so about the size of a Commando comic, but much thicker and in colour, like the later days of the fun size Beano and Dandy. And this is about Betty and Veronica, so Archie's two kind of love triangle girlfriends. But it's got other stories too. So I think that the main Archie comic, that's another digest. The main Archie comic is kind of an ongoing story, but with a continuity that always resets, but it also has lots of short, small stories. So these digests mostly reprint the short, small stories, but also this one about the football team being kidnapped is a long story. I guess this was one of the main stories in the comic at one point, possibly with the panels rearranged to fit these much smaller pages. That's a reasonable fan art. So yeah, Archie started in I think the late 40s or early 50s, and was late 40s or early 50s, and was originally a Christian comic, but quickly changed into what was called a teen age comic with a dash between teen age. So it's just kind of like jokes about dating and dating, cars, getting pocket money, all that kind of 50s Americana stuff. And until quite recently, so this is from 2004. From 2004. So yeah, until quite recently, Archie was basically always in 50s America. So the world updated, but it was still the 50s. So even in 2004, it was 50s America, but with flip phones and PlayStation 2s. But yeah, I think just as the kind of SJW craze in the superhero comics started, Archie was also relaunched and went kind of weird. So yeah, Archie doesn't really travel very well, I don't think. At least if I'd had these in the UK in the 90s, I would have either thought that America is actually like this, or probably wouldn't have understood it at all. But yeah, I'm not actually here to talk about Archie today. I'm here to talk about one of its cheap rip-offs from the 50s. Okay, so here we are back on Comic Book Plus again, and this is Algie, the town's top teen. So yeah, this is a rip-off of Archie from Stanley Morse or Key from April 1954, and this is issue 3 of I Don't Know, if I remember rightly. Yes, there's only one issue available. So that's right. Yeah, only one issue available. So I don't know how long this ran for, but I doubt it was particularly long. And this is not a particularly good scan either. So he's watching this sexy woman and diving into the pool, and it looks like he's diving like down here anyway, but there's no water in the pool. So yeah, pretty blurry scan. I want to get one of them bar scanners and start scanning some comics of my own. But they're like 70,000 yen, so I'll be doing that for a while. Anyway, this is looks like one of them Charles Atlas ads probably, but half of it's ripped off. Right, so into the stories. So you know, the old Archie had a old jalopy type hand cranked car, and so does Algie. This is like the opening single panel gag, and then they decide to spend the weekend hitchhiking, and yeah, Algie has some friends of his own which just there to be foils of the jokes. So Archie's friend Jughead is kind of a character in his own right, but Algie's friends are just kind of there to be the foils of the jokes and don't really do anything on their own. So anyway, they decide to go hitchhiking. They meet this guy with a really rubbish old car, and the tyres burst after only 65 billion miles. So then they meet a nice woman in a flash expensive sports car, but that breaks down too, so she gets them to push it and fix it. So then they decide to get on a train instead, which crashes, and he said, I'm not going to fix this. Next story, it's going to be Algie's main friend, Foggy, who is just there to be the part of the jokes and isn't really a character of his own, although he's kind of, I guess, a slow, dull-witted character, and that's about as far as you get. This is Bonnie, who's this version of Betty. So she makes a plan to throw him a surprise party, and this guy keeps trying to make him. Oh yeah, it's like let's go and visit her, and he's like, oh, it's too cold to go out. It's raining. I don't want to go out. So they go out anyway, and he goes into the wrong house and gets arrested. Algie goes to Bonnie's house anyway and finds a surprise party. And next, okay, advert to join a bird watching club and get a record of bird calls, because that was entertaining in the 50s, and some text stories too. So I think for a while in the USA, comics were counted as entertainment, so they had a higher postage rate, but magazines were counted as educational and had a lower postage rate. And to be classified as a magazine, you had to have 2 pages of text features, so they put in these short stories. So a little kid goes missing at kind of like a town event where the big businessman in the town is throwing a party and everyone has to go because nearly everybody works for him. And his little kid goes missing, and some teens find the kid sleeping in the back of the car and get a reward for finding him. Okay, Elroy, a different character, goes to see his girlfriend. He hasn't forgot the tickets, he hasn't forgot to take her flowers, but he forgets to take his hat off before he goes in the house. And Ziggy and Alf, like some characters trying get rich quick schemes. They decide to look for radium, which is what you get uranium from, but at the time radium was used to make glow-in-the-dark watches, and people weren't too worried about radioactivity, so yeah, they find a Geiger counter, go and look for some radium, go for miles and miles, swim across a lake, climb up a mountain, and it turns out that the Geiger counter was detecting the radium in his watch the whole time. Yeah, another advert. Chewing gum as a weight loss method, whatever. Right, some Algie's little cousins or brother and sister, maybe twin brother and sister or little cousins, I don't know. They try to trick him. Okay, another Algie story, this time with Bonnie is good at algebra, so he decides to go over there and get lessons from her. But his other girlfriend, what's his other girlfriend's name? Does it start with V by any chance? Oh no, Mona. Okay, they disguised Veronica a little bit more. Here's his little cousins again. Okay, this is Mona, who is Veronica, but at least they didn't call her Violet or something else. They actually disguised her name a little bit more. So she thinks this movie star is really hot, but Algie decides to sneak into the dressing room and finds out that actually the movie star looks like this, and all of his hair and his nice teeth are all on like a wig and fake teeth. So yeah, he turns out to actually be really ugly. and he uses a big fan to blow his disguise off and reveal that this famous star is actually ugly. Adverts sell stockings, and in only 4 months you'll have enough money to buy a car. Honestly, nice car though. Get a cheap payday loans, and then you can buy a car, and then be paying it off for the rest of your life. Dodgy adverts. There's only more comics. No, radium dialed watch. Cancer comes free, and the correspondence courses. I used to advertise these in British publications too. Different, learn different skills at home. Obviously today you can just do it on the internet instead. And yeah, there's Algie, a cheap rip-off of Archie, which had at least 3 issues and probably not more than 5 back in the 1950s. Yeah, good fun.